The officials of the General Motors Corporation and the Sampson Tractor Company have repeatedly declared that they would not bring families to Janesville unless Janesville was ready for them. They've taken this stand in a spirit of cooperation. They want men in their factories who represent the best class of workmen. They want men of intelligence, and these men will consider the advantages Janesville has to offer before they decide to make the city their future home. First need is a new high school, erected in a central location with all the modern conveniences. Let's get the best and do it right.
Janesville is to have a new high school. This was unanimously decided at a joint meeting of the school board, vocational school board, city council, and the board of directors held at the office of the Chamber of Commerce last evening. Everyone present urged the erection of a new high school to meet the needs of the growing Janesville, and every possible effort will be made to get the actual work started as soon as possible. The finest spirit of cooperation and harmony prevailed at the meeting, and after its adjournment, many of the members expressed the sentiment that such a gathering and the feeling shown argued well for Janesville's future.
The bond issue for the purchase of the high school site on South Main Street won yesterday's election by a vote of 2,928 to 1,229. The vote showed that the organized attempt of those who opposed the purchase of this site on the grounds of location failed because the sentiment for a bigger and better city was too strong to overcome. The backers of the bond issue, both men and women, worked from early in the morning until the polls closed, carrying voters to the polls. The women of Janesville, God bless them for intelligence and effective work performed during the campaign just closed. The organization and the way it was handled would have been a credit to any political party. There were no side issues, just a simple question. Shall we clear the way for the new era of prosperity? And they did. The victory is so decisive that there is no question in the minds of anyone that our people are foresighted and progressive.
A young boy named Sterling North adopts a baby raccoon he names Rascal. 1919, the Janesville Art League celebrates its 25th anniversary. And in 1921, J.P. Cullen and Son wins the contract to build a new Janesville High School. Mr. Cullen resigns as head of the Police and Fire Commission to avoid a possible conflict of interest. 1922, Janesville voters approved a referendum changing the city government to a manager-council form. Also in 1922, General Motors begins an expansion of the Sampson Tractor plant and converts it to a Chevrolet plant. It also announces that it will locate a Fisher Body plant next to the Chevrolet plant. And in 1923, first classes are held at the new Janesville High School.
It's wonderful. It's outstanding. Mr. Cullen, this may be your finest work today.
Thank you for such kind words, Mr. Holt, but it wouldn't have been possible without your gracious support as superintendent of schools.
Now, you're making it sound like a mutual appreciation society. Ah, Mrs. Sutherland. Mr. Cullen, have you met Mrs. Sutherland from the
I
school
have
board?
had the pleasure, yes.
Allow me to offer my compliments, Mr. Cullen. This school is a real treasure.
Thank you, Mrs. Sutherland. I certainly hope the students are as enamored of this place as we are.
I particularly want to share my thoughts on the auditorium. The acoustics are tremendous.
Mrs. Sutherland has an interest in the auditorium. She organized the school band.
I cannot take all the credit for the quality of the auditorium. Mr. Holt here was very involved in all of the details.
It's a pity the auditorium wasn't ready when John Philip Sousa and his band were here a few months ago.
Would they have sounded great in here?
And you do intend to hold community events in this place?
Absolutely. The people helped build this school. The people should be allowed to use it.
A fine philosophy indeed.
Good day, Mr. Clark.
Good day.
Mr. Holt, Mrs. Sutherland, this is Mr. Clark from the Chamber of Commerce.
Pleasure to meet you.
Mr. Clark, how are you doing? Maybe you can help us out, Mr. Clark. How's the search for the city manager going?
Well, no decision has been made yet, but the field of candidates has been narrowed down.
You see a favorite emerging.
This Traxler fellow shows some potential.
What's his name?
Henry Traxler. Currently managing a city in Iowa, but he's a Wisconsin boy. Went to school in Madison, and worked for a time in Los Angeles as well.
It's very exciting, this new manager council form of government.
Indeed. It shows how progressive this community has become.
This is an exciting time for Janesville. New school, new roads, new homes. Hartford Penn is booming. And the very first Janesville-built Chevrolet will be rolling off the assembly line next week.
You know, we're going to all remember 1923 for a long time.
Robert Charles Clark, what are you doing here? You should be in school.
I know that, but I want to see you in school.
You're attending classes, you're suited up.
He's already here, man. Why don't you let him look around?
All right, but only for a moment. You have to get back to your own school. Now this, as you can see, is the auditorium.
Holy cats.
Mind your tongue, young man. You know how I feel about prison.
Sorry, Pop. Will they have picture shows in here?
We're going to have all kinds of shows in here. We're going to have music, drama, moving pictures, and speeches.
I can't wait to be here for it.
Well, you'll just have to wait, because you have to be in class right now. I'd better go along and make sure Miss Farnsworth doesn't give you a whipping.
All those classes might call?
Only the ones Mr. Cullen built.
I wouldn't mind being a teacher in a school like this.
Well, you have years to go before you have to make any vocational decisions. Come along now.
Shouldn't that young man be in school?
That's being taken care of.
I don't think we had the pleasure.
My apologies. Margaret Sanford, J.P. Collins.
How do you do, sir?
Mrs. Sanford is our music teacher.
Do you know what just occurred to me a few moments ago?
What was that?
I don't believe that anyone has actually played music in this auditorium yet.
Could that be?
It's possible.
Personally, I'd like to hear how it sounds. Be my guest, Mrs. Sanford.
Please, Mrs. Sanford.
Fish gotta swim, birds gotta fly. I'm gonna love one man till I die, and I can't help loving that man of mine. Oh, listen, sister. Mr. Man, and I can't tell you why. There ain't no reason why I should love that man. It must be something that the angels done planned. Fish gotta swim. Tell me I'm crazy, maybe I know, but I can't help loving that man of mine. And when he goes away, that's a rainy day. And when he comes back,
Bravo, Mrs. Sanford.
Bravo to you, Mr.
maybe we could hold dances in here for the Milton College students, since Dr. Whitford banned dancing on the campus. Now, you wouldn't do something like that when you're school board president, would you, Mrs. Sutherland?
Let's not get ahead of ourselves now, Mr. Holt.
School board president?
Yes, there is talk that Mrs. Sutherland will be the next school board president.
Is that a fact? Well, I imagine the first female school board president would like to see the rest of the building.
I don't know about her, but I certainly would.
Let's show you around.
(1925), the Janesville High School Band performs on WGN Radio in Chicago. 1926, Janesville's Hero, a movie with an entirely local cast, is filmed in the city. Also in 1926, Mrs. Flora McClune presents the Janesville Art League with a lot on South Jackson Street, adjoining her residence, for the erection of a fireproof art gallery. Mr. and Mrs. George S. Parker later donate $10,000 to the Art League's building fund, and the resulting gallery is what is known today as the Janesville Women's Club. In 1928, the McDowell Music Club celebrates its 25th anniversary in Janesville and becomes a member of the National Federation of Music Clubs. Ladies and gentlemen, representing the McDowell Music Club, Sue Rankins. In 1929, the Janesville Little Theater stages its very first play, The New Lady Band Talk, in the Janesville High School Auditorium. 1930, world-famous pianist Vladimir Horowitz performs at the Janesville High School Auditorium, presented by the Apollo Club. And in 1932, the Janesville City Council votes down an ordinance that would permit public dancing on Sundays. Also in 1932, the Beloit Little Theater Guild is founded. Profits from their first full season 2 years later are donated to the Beloit Memorial Hospital to pay for x-ray work. This group is known today as the Beloit Civic Theater. Representing the Beloit Civic Theater, Larissa Stirrett and Susan Smith. 1937, the Janesville Civic Music Association is founded to bring nationally and internationally renowned artists to Janesville. This group is now known as Janesville Presents. 1940, the 99 Janesville area men who make up Company A and Headquarters Company 192nd Tank Battalion are activated from the National Guard and assigned to the Philippines.
Official United States Navy pictures of Japan's first great naval defeat. At mid-Pacific, Midway Island, American planes and warships strike a punishing surprise blow that the Japs will never forget. Their invasion plans are scuttled as the Yankees take a telling toll. 4 Jap carriers sunk, 28 Jap battleships and cruisers sunk or put out of action, and more than 300 Jap planes destroyed. Enemy airmen try desperately to fight off the unexpected assault, but all in vain. A few escape our furious air and sea barrage. Most of them are destroyed. 6 months after Pearl Harbor, and for 3 hot sunlit days, the Battle of Midway rages. Here a Jap surprise invasion meets with a counter-surprise by American forces. The concussion of bursting bombs is deafening as Jap planes drop their eggs of destruction, only to be met by a hail of hot steel. Steel made in the USA to destroy Japs. Heroic Marine gunners stick to their posts and let the enemy have it. Jap planes fall by the hundreds, fall like blazing torches. Flames consume the wreckage of other planes that fail to get through. The Red Cross heroically cares for the scorched and wounded. Midway's oil tanks explode, sending forth a curtain of dense smoke that casts a deep shadow over the battleground below. Smoke and burning oil tanks spout the skies over Midway as reveille sounds on the 3rd day of the struggle. Amidst this scene of destruction and bravery, the Marines proudly raised the emblem of freedom, the flag of victory. Midway was ready. A momentous victory is won.
And that concludes the newsreel portion of our program this evening. And once again, our thoughts and prayers go out to the men of Company A and Headquarters Company and to their families here in Janesville who are also suffering. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Robert Clark, and I teach junior high classes here at Janesville High School. I'd like to welcome you all to this fine auditorium that I get to see every day I'm here at work. Whenever I stand here and look out, it still reminds me of the first time I was here. On the first day this building held classes, I actually played hooky from my elementary school, just so I could sneak in here to see it for myself. We are indeed fortunate to have such an outstanding auditorium, not just for our own students, but for the entire community to enjoy. Now, it's my privilege to introduce a man who has served as the chief administrator of our fair city for 20 years now. When Janesville switched to a city manager form of government, some said it was a fad. Some said it would never last. Not only has the job endured, but so has the only man we have ever hired to fill it. Please join me in welcoming our first, and to this point, only city manager, Mr. Henry Traxler.
Mr. Clark. In my 20 years here, the past two have certainly been the most challenging. But I have confidence in the residents of this city as we struggle with the inconveniences necessary to support the war effort. In fact, I could not be more proud of all of you. The final numbers are in. Last year, Rock County purchased $3.37 million in war bonds, the fourth highest in the state, and $175,000 above our quota. That's tremendous. Thank you. I have been asked to speak to you all about the new rationing rules which are taking effect. As you know, every person will be allotted 48 points per month to use on food. Families are allowed to pool their points together. Now, the rationed food items each cost a specific number of points. For example, a can of green beans costs 14 points. Now, the papers that Mr. Clark will hand out explain some of the specifics of this system. You can also expect meat, butter, and cheese to be rationed on a point system beginning next month. When this happens, you'll all be allotted additional points specifically for those items. Yes, ma'am.
I heard that gasoline rations may be reduced. Is there any truth to that?
Well, there is talk that the gasoline ration will be cut from the current 4 gallons a week to 3. I have also heard that the shoe allowance may change from 3 to 2 pairs per person per year. Speaking of gas rationing, there is one more thing that you as citizens can do to help. Please burn your combustible trash, rather than leaving it for the trash collectors. I'm talking about items such as unsalvageable paper, leaves, and shrubbery cuttings.
How will that help?
Well, between the gas rationing and the labor shortage, things are getting pretty difficult for our weekly trash collection. Burning that trash will greatly help us. If there are no more questions, I'd like to conclude my segment by announcing that the employees of 3 local companies have been recognized with the Army Navy E Award for their outstanding work in support of the war. These 3 include our local Oldsmobile plant, which is producing artillery shells, the Rock River Woolen Mills, which is producing lining for Army and Marine uniforms, and Parker Penn, which is producing bomb caps and radio and airplane components. It's a great honor for the military to recognize these companies. Please join me in a round of applause for these fine companies and their employees.
Thank you, Mr. Traxler. We certainly appreciate your leadership at this critical time in our city's history. The war has affected us all, and the students and faculty here at Janesville High School are no exception. I am especially proud of our students
who have truly risen to the occasion and shown they do not take their freedoms for granted. I have invited Al Diot, the senior class president, to tell you about the many contributions that the student body has made to the war effort. Mr. Diot.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. I appreciate the opportunity to tell everyone gathered here what the students at Janesville High School are doing to support the war effort. The Fidelis Club, which includes all of the girls in the school, knitted 3 large, colorful Afghans that were sent to the Red Cross for use in military hospitals. They also sent about 30 scrapbooks containing cartoons, humor, sports, and other subjects that our servicemen might be interested in reading. The biggest campaign of the year was Jeep Week. JHS came through by buying not 1, but almost 2 Jeeps. Students also donated toward buying Thanksgiving baskets that were donated to the USO to provide Thanksgiving dinners for our soldiers. Last fall, we had a scrap campaign, and this spring a book campaign, where many excellent books were collected for Uncle Sam's forces to read. There are many other contributions, both great and small, but these were the highlights that I wanted to share with you tonight. Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Diot. I think you will all agree with me after hearing about the work of our young people that the future of our community is in good hands indeed. Mr. Diot mentioned the students' contributions to the USO. In its 2 years of existence now, the USO has already proven its value in contributing to the morale of our soldiers. Well, we have a special treat for you all this evening. 4 special ladies who are about to go on tour to entertain our boys in service. They're on their way to the East Coast tomorrow, eventually headed to Europe. But tonight they're here to give you a preview of the music our boys will be enjoying. Ladies and gentlemen, the 4 Songbirds! Thank you very much, ladies. Thank you, and God bless you for taking your talents to our soldiers. Before we depart this evening, I would like to introduce the Reverend Horace Benson, who will conclude our meeting with a prayer for our servicemen. Reverend Benson.
Mr. Clark. I ask everyone to please join me in prayer.
Dear Lord, these are trying times. We're reminded every day of the war overseas that threatens our freedoms and the lives of so many. We pray for you, Lord, for a swift end to this war and for the protection of our soldiers in battle. We especially pray, Lord, for the health and safety of our own brave men from Janesville. We pray for you to deliver them from the suffering at the hands of their captors. We pray for their liberation and their safe return home. Please, Lord, watch over those men of Company A and Headquarters Company, and let them know that they are not forgotten by all of us back home. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
1945, the men of Janesville's 192nd Tank Battalion returned home from the war. Only 35 of the 99 survived their time as prisoners of the Japanese. This Kodacolor footage was taken the day they left Janesville 5 years before. 1948, the Beloit Little Theater Guild changes its name to the Beloit Civic Theater. To this day, profits from their performances go to a scholarship fund that helps graduating students go on to study the performing arts. And in 1949, the Janesville Barbershop Chorus holds its first rehearsal in the Janesville High School auditorium. Today, this group is known as the Badger Chordhawks.
With a glory
50. Just before his death, George Tolman gives his family's mansion at 440 North Jackson Street to the city of Janesville. The city makes a deal with the Rock County Historical Society to restore and operate the structure as the Lincoln Tolman Museum. 1952, Janesville women form a local barbershop harmony chorus affiliated with Sweet Adelines International. For many years, their rehearsals would take place in the music room of Janesville High School, Marshall Junior High. And in 1953, the Beloit Civic Symphony is formed. This group is now known as the Beloit Janesville Symphony Orchestra. At their very first public concert, the very first piece they performed is the piece you have just heard, Antonio Vivaldi's Four Seasons. And in 1953, the Choral Union, conducted by Milton College professor Bernhard Westland, presents Johann Sebastian Bach's St. Matthew Passion at the Janesville High School Auditorium. Ladies and gentlemen, once again gracing this stage, the Choral Union, directed by Richard Severin. 1954, one of the greatest opera singers of the 20th century, Marian Anderson, performs at the Janesville High School auditorium, presented by the Janesville Civic Music Association, now known as Janesville Presents. The following year, she would become the first African American to sing a lead role at the Metropolitan Opera in New York. Also in 1954, ground is broken on Randall Avenue for what will become the new Janesville High School. The school board decides to retain the old high school as a junior high for 7th through 9th graders. And in 1955, the Janesville Barbershop Chorus, now known as the Badger Cordhawks, wins the International Barbershop Competition, the only international championship ever won by a chorus group from the Land O'Lakes district, which includes the Upper Midwest and Canada.
Telling you, Mr. Clark, this rock and roll music is bad. It's the devil's music.
Well, why would you say that, Mrs. Edwards?
Well, it'll lead to juvenile delinquency.
Come on, that's what they said about jazz music when we were young. We turned out just fine, didn't we?
But this is different. It's got a beat. It'll warp their minds. Mark my words, Mr. Clark. This could lead to close dancing or, heaven forbid, heavy petting.
Mrs. Edwards, this rock and roll is new to all of us. Believe me, we will monitor the situation. Hello, Susan. Hello, Jane.
Can you answer a question for us, Mr. Clark?
Well, I will try.
Do you have a telephone?
Yes, I do.
Why? Do you need to make a phone call?
No, we have a question about the new telephone numbers in Janesville.
Mm-hmm.
It says on the handout that the new telephone number for the school is Pleasant 28273.
Yes, that sounds correct.
Well, we wondered why they made the numbers so long. You only had to dial 4 numbers before, and now there's 13.
13? Oh, no. The number is still only 7 numbers long. You don't dial out the whole word pleasant. Just the first 2 letters, P-L.
Then why do they say Pleasant?
Well, that's easier to remember for some people. If you don't like that, think of it as 7-5. All of the Janesville phone numbers start with 7-5 now.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Good. So, are you junior high kids excited about being here this fall when you've got the building all to yourselves?
Yeah, we'll be the top dogs around here.
I can't wait.
Well, imagine how excited the 9th graders are. They must feel like seniors this year.
We wanted to ask you about this fall.
Sure, what about it?
Which one of the junior high teachers is going to wear red long johns during homecoming week, like Mr. Vick does?
Oh. I think that's a tradition best left to Mr. Vick. We'll start our own traditions here.
Maybe you can wear a cheerleading outfit!
Why, Jane, have you been listening to rock and roll? Forget it. Go to class.
Mr. Clark.
Well, speak of the devil, Mr. Vick. You know, I was just asked by one of the junior high students which of us teachers would be carrying on the tradition of the red long johns.
I guess not many principals do that. I'll bet that 50 years from now, they'll still be talking about it.
Well, I'm sure you'll be remembered fondly for much more than just that.
You know, Bob, I'm going to miss this place when we leave. I've been inside the new high school, but it's just not the same.
Really? How so?
Well, it's nice and modern, just like this was when it opened. But it doesn't have the character of this place. And the new auditorium, oh, it's huge! But I don't think the acoustics are like this place. And not just the sound, but the warmth. I almost wish we could send junior high out there and stay here.
Well, believe me, you're always welcome to come back here and visit us.
The bell rang, people. Let's move along.
You know what? Someday I'm going to be on the school board, and they'll be taking orders from me.
Right. Dennis Vichinsky on the school board?
In 1957, Janesville native Kerwin Matthews, who cut his acting teeth at the Janesville High School Auditorium and with the Janesville Little Theater, gets the starring role in the Hollywood feature, The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. 1960, Janesville Junior High School students vote to rename their school Marshall in honor of the late General George S. Marshall, who served as Army Chief of Staff during World War II and who developed the Marshall Plan, the program that rebuilt Western Europe after the war. And in 1963, in its 35th season, the Janesville Little Theater presents the musical Anything Goes. Here to perform a song from that musical, please welcome Donna Berg.
Times have changed, and we've often rewound the clock since the Puritans got a shock when they landed on Plymouth Rock. But today, any shock you should try to stand, instead of landing on Plymouth Rock would land on them. In olden days, a glimpse of stalking was looked on as something shocking. Now, heaven knows, anything goes. Good authors, too, who once knew better words, now only use four-letter words. Writing prose, anything goes. The world has gone mad today, and good's bad today, and black's white today, and day's night today, and those proud today is rather proud today. These doors are no longer closed. For years to come, we'll still be sharing in music and art, and wearing our finest clothes. Anything goes. If Mr. Bick, dressed up in red, can wear long johns he wore to bed, well then I suppose anything goes. If folks in Janesville still can pack the good fortune to let the J-Pack produce these shows, anything goes. The world has gone mad today, and good's bad today, and black's white today, and day's night today, and this crowd today is rather proud today. We are no longer closed. For years to come, we'll still be sharing in music and art, and wearing our finest clothes. Anything goes. Folks worked hard with great conviction to make all this fact from fiction that really shows. Anything goes. If class and culture, jazz and Broadway will make any couch potato say, hey, let's go. Anything goes. Just think of the shocks you get, and what knocks you get, and what blues you get, and what news you get. So much more you get than from your TV set or those little radios. In olden days when this was history, no one would have guessed the mystery that now unfolds. Anything goes.
1964, Sergeant Shriver, director of the Peace Corps and brother-in-law to John and Bobby Kennedy, speaks about the Corps at the Marshall Junior High Auditorium.
Also in 1964, for the first time, the voice of Bob Daly was heard on WCLO radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bobby Goldsboro! 1965, Duke Ellington and his 16-piece orchestra perform in Janesville. And in 1968, a 12-year-old Marshall Junior High student gives a speech in the school auditorium, successfully campaigning for a new flag for the school. This was the very first of many political speeches delivered by Rusty Feingold, now known as U.S. Senator Russ Feingold. And in 1968, the University of Wisconsin's two-year campus in Janesville, nicknamed UROC, presents its first theater performance, The Irregular Verb to Love. And in 1969, longtime Janesville High School principal and vice principal Ken Vick retires. Vick had graduated from Janesville High School in 1922. And in 1921, the Janesville Symphony Guild is founded to support performances of the Beloit Janesville Symphony Orchestra.
Hey, did you guys hear Larry Lujek on WLS yesterday?
Yeah, what?
He talked about Janesville on Animal Stories.
No way!
Yes, wait, you should have heard it. He called us the hokiest town in the Midwest.
Why?
Remember the picture in the paper with the chicken crossing the road to eat french fries? That's why.
So what are you guys doing this summer?
We might drive up to Yellowstone.
Might?
Well, we're supposed to, but Dad said he might cancel the trip because gas is getting so expensive. It's over 50 cents a gallon.
Yeah, this energy crisis stinks. My dad keeps getting laid off down at the plant.
My dad says it's that Crook Nixon's fault. He hopes they impeach him.
School's out for the summer.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, did you guys hear? Because it's the last day of school, they're gonna let us go swimming in gym class.
Aw, crud. I forgot my swimsuit.
Oh, geez, Steve. You know it's gym class. We don't wear swimsuits. Quit acting like your parents.
I know, it's just...
Come on, just do it. It's the only place we can swim naked and not get in trouble.
Yeah. Isn't that weird? The school lets you swim naked, but if you left the pool, you'd be arrested as a streaker. Hey, girls, guess what? We're gonna swim naked in gym class today. Wanna come watch?
Ew, you guys are gross! It's okay. I'm sure there's nothing worth seeing anyway. Did you guys know that it's Mr. Clark's last day? He's retiring. Wow, he must be ancient. My dad had him as a teacher. Are you kidding? He was here when my grandma was here. Really? It's true. Wow, we're in his last class. The last class he'll ever teach. Isn't that something? We should do something special for him. Maybe we could get him a gift certificate to eat at the Left Guard. What? You know, the new restaurant the Green Bay Packer guy opened on Highway 26. No, I've got a better idea.
All right, this is the classroom. Get your seat. Hurry up. Well, it's about time, Speedy. Well, seeing as how this is my last class, my last year, I decided to have it here in the auditorium, which has always been my favorite place in the school. Cindy.
How many years have you taught here, Mr. Clark?
Well, I started here in 1936. Yeah, I know, that seems like a long time. But you know, as a matter of fact, I went to high school here, and I graduated in 1931. So if you've been paying attention in math class, you can figure out how old I am. Did I ever tell you I was here the day this school opened?
Yes.
Did I tell you I played hooky to be here the day it was
Yes.
opened? Well, I guess I did. I'm sorry about that.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Clark?
Yeah.
Well, we know this is your last class ever, so we wanted to do something special for you.
Well, you don't have to do anything special. That's fine.
No, we want to.
Okay.
Happy retirement to you. Happy retirement to you. Happy retirement, Mr. Clark. Happy retirement to you.
Oh, thank you very much. Cute, guys. Cute.
Yeah, we know. You hate cute.
Yeah. About time you learned that.
Still able to maintain order in the classroom, I see.
Students, this is Mr. Beck. He used to be the principal when this was a high school.
Well, well. I should have known I would find you here.
To what do we owe the honor, Mr. Beck?
Oh, I just wanted to welcome another old teacher into the world of retirement.
Why did you have to emphasize old, sir?
Did Mr. Clark ever tell you about the day he played hooky to
Yeah, we already covered that, I guess, a couple times. Whoa! Looking for a fire drill. I haven't had a chance to give you my farewell speech yet. Have a great summer. And thank you. Dismissed.
Well, Bob, what do you want to do first?
Why don't we go play some shuffleboard?
Shuffleboard?
Isn't that what retirees do?
The Janesville Little Theater begins a new tradition with its first dinner theater presentation, You Know I Can't Hear You When the Water's Running. It plays to enthusiastic audiences at the Hoffman House. And in 1976, the Janesville Community Bicentennial Musical Committee forms to present a special production of The Music Man, featuring George Kiskunis as Professor Harold Hill. And that show sprouts the seed leading to the formation of the Stage 1 Community Theater Group, founded in Janesville by Gary Lennox. Ladies and gentlemen, Jan Knutson and George Kiskunis.
No
Friend, either you are closing your eyes to a situation you do not wish to acknowledge, or you are unaware of the caliber of disaster indicated by the presence of a pool table in your community. Well, you got trouble, my friends. Right here, I say trouble right here in River City. Why, sure, I'm a billiard player. Certainly mighty proud to say. I'm always mighty proud to say it. I consider that the hours I spend with a cue in my hand are golden. Helps you cultivate horse sense and a cool head and a keen eye. Did you ever take and try to give an iron cat leap to yourself from a three-railed billiard shot? Well, just as I say it takes judgment, brains, and maturity to score in a balk line game, I say that any boob can take and shove a ball in a pocket. And I call that slop. The first big step on the road to the depths of degradation. I say first, medicinal wine from a teaspoon, then beer from a bottle. And the next thing you know, your son is playing for money in a pitchback suit. And listening to some big out-of-town Jasper here to tell about horse race gambling. Not a wholesome trotting race, no, but a race where they set down right on the horse. Like to see some stuck-up jockey boy sitting on Dan Patch, make your blood boil, I should say. Now, friends, let me tell you what I mean. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pockets in the table. Pockets that mark the difference between a gentleman and a bum with a capital B, and that rhymes with D, and that stands for pool. And all week long, your River City youth will be frittering away. I say, your young men will be frittering. Frittering away there, noontime, supper time, chore time too. Get the ball in the pocket, never mind getting dandelions pulled to the screen door, packed to the beefsteak pounded. Never mind pumping any water till your parents are caught with the cistern empty on a Saturday night, and that's trouble. Yes, you got lots and lots of trouble. I'm thinking of the kids in the Knickerbocker, shirt-tail young'uns, peeking in the pool hall window after school. You got trouble. Folks, right here in River City. Trouble with a capital T, and that rhymes with P, and that stands for pool. Now, I know all you folks are the right kind of parents. I'm going to be perfectly frank. Would you like to know what kind of conversation goes on while they're loafing around that hall? They'll be trying out Bevo, trying out Q-Bep, trying out tailor-mades like cigarette fiends, and bragging all about how they're going to cover up a telltale breath with sunset one fine night. They leave the pool hall, heading for the dance at the armory. Libertine men and scarlet women and ragtime. Shameless music that'll grab your sons and your daughters to the arms of the jungle, animal instinct, hysteria. Friends, the idle brain is the devil's playground. Trouble. Right here in River City. With a capital T, and that rhymes with P, and that stands for pool. We've surely got trouble. Right here in River City. Gotta figure out a way to keep the young ones moral after school. Mothers of River City, heed the warning before it's too late. Watch for the telltale signs of corruption. The minute your son leaves the house, does he rebuckle his knickerbockers below the knee? Is there a nicotine stain on his index finger? A dime novel hidden in the corn crib? Is he starting to memorize jokes out of Captain Billy's whiz-bang? Are certain words creeping into his conversation? Words like swell, and so's your old man. Ah, if so, my friends, you got trouble right here in River City with a capital T, and that rhymes with P, and that stands for pool. We've surely got trouble right here in River City. Remember the Maine, Plymouth Rock, and the Golden Rule. Oh, we got trouble. We're in terrible, terrible trouble. That game with the 15 numbered balls is the devil's tool. Oh, yes, we got trouble, trouble, trouble. With a T, and that rhymes with P, and that stands for pool.
The Choral Union celebrates its 100th anniversary, having been formed at Milton College in 1881. 1985, the Beloit Janesville Symphony Orchestra performs their first concert in the park at Courthouse Park in Janesville. And in 1987, the Janesville Little Theater begins presenting all of their plays in a dinner theater format. 1989, the State Line Harmony Chorus is founded, singing women's four-part harmony a cappella as part of Sweet Adelines International. And in 1990, Spotlight on Kids is founded in Janesville as a storytelling and creative dramatics group for children. In 1991, Heatwave, the Rock County 4-H Show Choir, is founded. This group of musical ambassadors for 4-H performs 30 to 40 shows a year. And also in 1991, Janesville Little Theater, after 5 years of performing in various locations, establishes a permanent home for its dinner theater at Candu Industries, where they still present some of their shows today. And in 1993, Theater Unlimited is founded and incorporated in Janesville. The group later partners with the YWCA of Rock County to produce musicals as fundraisers for the YWCA Care House. And in 1993, Spotlight on Kids presents its first musical production, The Wizard of Oz. Ladies and gentlemen, Spotlight on Kids.
Toto, I don't think we're in Kansas anymore. What happened was just this. The wind began to switch, the house to pitch, and suddenly the hinges started to unhitch. Just then, the witch, to satisfy an itch, went riding on her broomstick, thumbing for a hitch. Oh, what happened that was it? The house began to pitch, the kitchen took a switch. It landed on the wicked rich middle of the ditch, which was not a healthy situation for a wicked witch. The house began to pitch, the kitchen took a switch. It landed on the wicked rich middle of the ditch, which was not a healthy situation for the wicked witch, who began to twitch and was reduced to just a stitch. But what was once a wicked witch?
1996, the United Arts Alliance holds its first meeting in Janesville. UAA becomes the first community arts coalition in Wisconsin established by a citizens' grassroots effort to promote the arts. One of its goals is to promote the construction of a performing arts center in Janesville. Also in 1996, the final classes are held in the building now known as Marshall Middle School.
Right this way, Mr. Clark. Here, I'll get you a chair.
Here you go. Thank you, Joe. Thank you for letting me in here this one last time.
It's my pleasure, Mr. Clark. Need a hand there?
Oh, yeah.
Well, why didn't you come back on the last day of classes when everyone was here?
Well, I didn't want to get in the way. There's hardly anybody here remembers me anymore anyhow.
You're wrong about that. Everyone would have been glad to see you. Heck, half the staff here had you as a teacher.
Well, you know, you can only hang your hat on the retired teacher label for just so long, and then pretty soon you become a meddlesome old man.
You're wrong about that.
Well, you know, Joe, one time the noise the students made and all that was music to my ears. It excited me, but now I have to tell you, I've grown accustomed to the silence, and I like it. Joe, you're making me nervous. Why don't you sit down? Not on the floor. Get a chair.
Oh, okay.
All right. I'm not your teacher anymore, Joe. You don't have to act like a kid.
Well, to be honest, I think you'll always be my teacher.
Thank you, Joe. You were a good kid, even though you were a smart ass.
Me?
Oh, yeah.
What did I do?
Don't think I forgot about some of the pranks you pulled around here.
Like what?
Like the time you put glue all over Jim Edwards' chair and stuck him right to it.
That wasn't me.
It was too.
No, it wasn't. That was Rodney Craig.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I could have sworn that.
Well, maybe I did help a little.
See, my memory is not completely gone yet. Yeah.
Have you seen the new Marshall Middle School yet, Mr. Clark?
Yes, I have. Looks like a damn spaceship. You know, but at least they had sense enough to put the damn swimming pool in.
Well, it's a lot more modern than this place.
Well, this place was state-of-the-art modern when it opened. Did I ever tell you I played hooky to be the other day this place?
Yes, yes you did.
Oh, I did, huh? Now, what's going to happen to this place, Joe?
Well, they're trying to sell it.
Well, that's what I heard, but who's going to buy it? What are they going to do with it?
There's talk of it becoming apartments.
Apartments? That is a crazy idea. It's never going to work.
Well, they could always make it into a jail.
A jail?
Yeah. When I went to school here, it always felt like a jail, especially in your class.
Especially in my class. You're still a smart ass, aren't you? Well, I'm sorry. Yeah, I suppose, you know, some of the kids do feel it's a jail. Yeah. You know, this is still a good auditorium. Not what it used to be, but you know, a little paint, fix up the seats, roof. Could be fine again.
Well, nobody wants to see it torn down, I can tell you that.
Really? Then it's really true they want to keep it standing?
Everyone I've talked to says so.
Well, I sure hope you're right about that. Sure hope you're right. Yep. A lot of memories here.
Yeah. Yeah, there are.
Did I ever tell you about the first day I went to school here?
Yes. Mr. Clark, I have to lock up.
Oh, sure.
But
I did tell you about that, though.
You know, I wouldn't mind hearing it again.
Okay. Well, you see, they were all standing right over here. I can't.
1996, the Janesville Concert Association, now known as Janesville Presents, brings renowned bassist Richard Davis and his jazz quintet to Janesville. Also in 1996, Theater Unlimited produces its first musical partnership with the YWCA, Fiddler on the Roof, with Dennis Wyszynski as Tevye. Ladies and gentlemen, Dennis Wyszynski.
Dear God, you made many, many poor people. I realize, of course, it's no shame to be poor, but it's no great honor either. So what would have been so terrible if I had a small fortune? If I were a rich man, all day long I'd biddy biddy bum. If I were a wealthy man, I wouldn't have to work hard. If I were a bitty bitty rich, idle deedle diddle diddle man, I'd build a big tall house with rooms by the dozen right in the middle of the town. A fine tin roof with real wooden floors below. There would be one long staircase just going up and one even longer coming down, and one more leading nowhere just for show. I'd fill my yard with chicks and turkeys and geese and ducks for the town to see and hear, squawking just as noisily as they can. And each loud will end like a trumpet on the ear, as if to say, here lives a wealthy man. If I were a rich man, all day long I'd biddy biddy bum. If I were a wealthy man, I wouldn't have to work hard. If I were a bitty bitty rich, idle deedle diddle diddle man, I see my wife, my Golda, looking like a rich man's wife with a proper double chin, supervising meals to her heart's delight. I see her putting on airs and strutting like a peacock. Oh, what a happy mood she's in, screaming at the servants day and night. All right, get busy now, hurry up, hurry. The most important men in town will come to fawn on me. They will ask me to advise them, like a Solomon the Wise. If you please, Reptevia, pardon me, Reptevia, posing problems that would cross a rabbi's eyes. And it won't make one bit of difference if I answer right or wrong. When you're rich, they think you really know. If I were rich, I'd have the time that I lack to sit in the synagogue and pray, and maybe have a seat by the eastern wall. And I'd discuss the holy books with the learned men 7 hours every day. That would be the sweetest thing of all. If I were a rich man, all day long I'd biddy biddy bum. If I were a wealthy man, I wouldn't have to work hard. Lord, who made the lion and the lamb, you decreed I should be what I am. Would it spoil some vast eternal plan if I were a wealthy man?
In 1997, the bid of Stonehouse Developments is accepted by the Janesville School District to purchase the Marshall Middle School building. The United Arts Alliance presents The Mollies, the final usage of the original building and the last chance for the public to see it before renovations begin. In 1999, Stonehouse Developments hosts the grand opening of the new Marshall Apartments, a $5 million renovation of the old Janesville High School and Marshall Middle School. The auditorium is donated to a community group called the Janesville Performing Arts Center. JPAC begins a fundraising drive to renovate the auditorium into a community arts center. Also in 1999, the first ever outdoor Shakespeare performance in Janesville occurs when Spotlight on Kids Footlights production stages A Midsummer Night's Dream at Rotary Gardens. And in 2000, Heat Wave is selected as the only musical group in Wisconsin to perform at the dedication of the State Fair Park Tommy Thompson Youth Dorm. Governor Thompson himself is on hand for that performance. And in 2003, more than 4,000 people attend Theater Unlimited's production of Annie, which raises $54,000 in building funds for the Janesville Performing Arts Center. And in 2004, having raised $4 million in funds, the Janesville Performing Arts Center opens to the public. They say a building is just a lifeless stack of bricks and mortar and plaster. But when so many lives pass through its doors, lives that leave here educated and enlightened with a new appreciation of the arts and academics, when it touches so many different people that they come together to preserve it for future generations to enjoy and experience and appreciate, can it be said that it hasn't a life of its own? Can it be said that it doesn't have a soul? What you are seeing here tonight is the rebirth of this structure, resurrected and infused with a new life and a new purpose, and of course, a new stage.
Calls across the ocean. A new stage calls across the sky. A new stage whispers in the shadows. Time to fly.
It's about one moment, the moment before it all becomes clear, and in that one moment, you start to believe there's nothing to fear. It's about 1 second, and just when you're on the verge of success, the sky starts to change, and the wind starts to blow. And oh, you're suddenly a stranger. There's no explaining where you stand. You didn't know that you sometimes have to go round an unexpected bend, and the road will land on a new stage.
Calls for me to follow. A new stage waits for my reply. A new stage holds me to a promise. Standing by.
About one moment, that moment you think you know where you stand, but in that one moment, the things that you're sure of slip from your hand, and you've got 1 second to try to be clear, to try to stand tall, but nothing's the same, and the wind starts to blow, and stranger in some completely different land, and he thought you knew, but didn't have the clue that the surface sometimes cracks to reveal the tracks to a new stage.
Have a house in the hills.
You have a job on the coast.
You find a lover you're sure you believe in. You get a pool in the back.
You get the part of your love.
You hold the ring in your hand. But then the earthquake hits,
and the bank closes in.
Then you realize you didn't know anything. Nobody told you the best way to steer when the wind starts to blow. And oh, you're suddenly a stranger. All of a sudden your life is different than you planned, and you have to stay until you somehow find a way to be sure of what will be. Then you might be free.
Stage crashing down like thunder. A new stage charging through the air. A new stage just beyond the mountains.